Hello everyone, and to my subscribers, welcome back friends. To everyone new, welcome to my channel. I'm a frugal foodie. I love eating great food on a budget. I have been wanting to make a $10 a week budget video for a while now, but I've put it off because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to eat well or as good as I wanted to eat on $10. But now I'm feeling motivated. I'm up for the challenge. So I'm going to see what I can do with 10 bucks. Obviously, I'm shopping the sales. I'm looking at multiple stores, all in a very close vicinity, obviously. Let's see what I was able to come up with. Let's get into it. Okay, and here is what I was able to get for my $10. I picked up some spinach, some eggs. Eggs were really expensive, so I was only able to get 12. In my area, I got brown rice. I got a loaf of the sandwich bread, russet potatoes, a 5-pound bag. They actually had 10-pound bags, but I had to get a rain check. I got these Mission flour tortillas. I got the cilantro, 1 carrot, which will be good in maybe some fried rice, something like that. I got some diced tomatoes. Thinking I might do something with an egg, like well, I'm not sure yet. Seasoned black beans, I love those. Okay, I got this peanut butter at the Dollar Tree. I was super excited to find this because it's going to be perfect for peanut butter sandwiches, which I haven't had for a while. Cilantro, avocado, can't go a week without avocado. Some tomatoes, of course. And then I'm going to be using some spices from my own house, and these are what I'm going to use. Soy sauce. I may use a little Red Hot, but I may not. I'm not sure yet. I think I've also got some Louisiana hot sauce in there, some Crystal. I've got salt, pepper, garlic salt. I'm actually out of garlic salt right now, so I've got garlic powder, but I would prefer to use garlic salt. Just regular peppercorn, red chili pepper, I might use that. Chili powder, I may use that. And then also this this vegetable bouillon, you know, if you watch my channel, I use that all the time. So it's definitely a staple you want to have on hand. It makes your food go further. If you don't have it, you can buy this Chicken Ramen Express for, I think it was like 15 cents, somewhere around there, and use a little seasoning packet out of that. So that's just a little thing for you. Now, I'm also going to use oil and any butter if I want to add extra flavor. Okay, so with these 3 ingredients right here, basically adding up to $3.12, I could have a ton of meals. I could have all of my breakfasts and lunches for the entire week. I could have egg fried sandwiches, scrambled eggs, eggs and toast, peanut butter toast, egg salad sandwiches if you have some mayonnaise. There's just a lot of different ways to go about this. There are so many combinations that you can make with these ingredients. Now, I will say that this peanut butter was so delicious. It tasted just like Skippy, and I love Skippy peanut butter. So this was actually a treat for me. I don't usually buy this kind of bread, so I really enjoyed eating this week. And to start out with, I'm going to go ahead and wash my brown rice, get that cooked up, and I'm going to cook up a little bit extra so that I have some for the week. It just makes meal prep a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. So now I'm going to make breakfast burritos. I'm going to make enough for 2 days, and I'm going to use 2 potatoes. I'm going to use a little bit of the onion and 3 eggs, and then just some spices I've got on hand and some oil. And I'll be using 2 of the tortillas that I've got out of the 8. I do normally use the Great Value tortillas. They are just as good as Mission, but I did want to use these up because somebody purchased them and I don't want them to go to waste. Potatoes make a great filler for these burritos, and they're inexpensive too, so I really like to use these in the burritos. And this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now normally I don't add the onion, but I do love the taste of onion in there. So I'm going to go ahead and shred up some onion as well. And I want to make sure though that when I'm cooking this, that the onion gets fully cooked. I don't want to take a bite of the burrito and have any raw pieces of onion, because that's definitely not the taste I'm going for. I want them to be cooked in with the potatoes so that it has that really nice, almost kind of sweet flavor of the onion. Now I probably could have just added the shredded onions to the potatoes and they probably would have been fine, but I didn't want to take any chances, especially since we have a limited amount of onion for this dish, and and other ingredients as well. So I'm just gonna fry the onions just to make sure that they get done inside. I found the trick to making a really good breakfast burrito to have the eggs be a little bit wet, so that you have a nice moist burrito when you bite into it. I really love using this wax paper for these breakfast burritos, and actually for sandwiches, wraps, anything that I'm going to be making ahead of time and putting in the fridge for later. First of all, you can heat it up in here with the breakfast burritos, and with the sandwiches, it just helps to hold them together really nicely, even when you cut through them and go to serve them. So if you haven't tried using that, definitely pick some up. And for the second burrito, I'm using some of the crystal sauce on there because I'm actually going to be eating this one probably right away because I'm hungry. I thought originally when I started this I was going to make them for 2 breakfasts, but I'm actually starving right now, so I'm going to go ahead and eat one tonight for my dinner. Okay, I have to say that these burritos were so dang good. I absolutely love them. The only way that they could have been any better is maybe to have added a little bit of extra sharp cheddar, maybe some feta. Would have been really nice, but they were super delicious as is, and I thought to myself I could have eaten these for breakfast every day this week and I would have been super happy. But we are conserving the shells, and I do want to eat some variety this week, so I've got some unusual meals planned for the rest of the week, but this is off to a good start. Okay, next up I'm going to make some black bean burritos. These are going to be super healthy. Beans and brown rice make a complete protein. I've got some fresh tasting cilantro. I'm going to use the rice that I made previously in the video, and I just took it out of the fridge. I'm going to heat it up in the microwave for a super quick meal. And I've got the black beans that I'm absolutely loving right now. I get those at Walmart. They're the seasoned black beans, and I love the way they taste. And I'm going to use a little bit of the broth in my burrito to make it a little bit less dry, because I also really just love that flavor of the beans. I'm going to make sure my spinach is washed, obviously, for all you germaphobes out there, making sure that you know that I'm washing all of my items, and get it dry as possible so that your burrito doesn't have any of the water in there, obviously. And then I'm just going to dice up my tomatoes really nice and thin, and these are also something that I'm going to be conserving, so I'm only going to be using just as much as I want for this meal, and then try to save as much for later as possible. I'm just going to dice these real thin. In retrospect, I probably should have left the tomatoes in quarters. They would have looked better when I cut the burrito open, and yes, those are the things that I think about. I definitely want my food to look good. I want it to taste good. And I just want it to be presented in the best way possible for the ingredients that I have. And I feel like even though we're only eating for $10 this week, I feel like I'm really able to make some good meals that are nutritious. We're not hitting all of the nutrition spots. Obviously, I don't recommend anybody eating this way for very long, or you definitely want to take some kind of supplementation, maybe some protein powder. But I think for what we have, I think we're doing pretty well. And I love, like I said, I love this sauce. It is so tasty and so flavorful. You can use that in a lot of different applications, but like I said, for this burrito, I'm just going to add it for a little bit of extra liquid into the rice. Okay, I'm cutting off the stems here to make room in my refrigerator, but the stems, when I cut them off, they just smell so delicious, and the stems do have a lot of flavor. So if you wanted to throw those into a blender along with some yogurt, you could make a nice creamy cilantro dressing that would make a great topping for these bean burritos. But in my case, I didn't have any yogurt on the list, so I'm not going to add that in here. And I'm actually going to just probably toss those. But I do feel a little bit guilty about doing it because they do have a lot of flavor in them. So I'm going to put 1 cup of the brown rice in each burrito, along with this liquid from the seasoned black beans. And you've probably heard me say this before if you watch my channel. Sometimes I've had black beans, in restaurants or varieties that I actually don't care that much for. But for some reason, these Walmart black beans, I just cannot seem to get enough of. They taste so good and they're super nutritious. So I'm definitely in a black bean phase right now. And I'm going to try to conserve these a little bit because I've got several different recipes that I want to use these in. And actually, we're going to have quite a bit in this burrito, so we've got plenty of toppings. And unfortunately, I ran out of garlic salt, but I would add a little bit of the garlic salt here on top of the rice and the black beans. So I'm conserving the avocado also, so I'm just going to be using 1/4 of this. So I was wishing that I would have used the wax paper for this because it was kind of hard to roll up these and cut them. I had filled them so full, but they were super, super delicious. And there's a few different things that you could do with this if you wanted to. And by the way, I just love serving mine in these bowls. But see, if they were wrapped in the paper, they would have held together better. You could use little silver bullets for putting some salsa, maybe some dip, like if you wanted to make a cilantro avocado dip or something like that, or maybe cilantro sour cream dip. That would have been really good. And then serve it like this. That would have been really beautiful. But I liked them just as is. We are on a $10 budget this week, so I didn't add anything extra to it. I had this La Victoria as well, but I just ate mine plain. I already had put a little bit of the crystal inside my burrito, but it was super tasty. I enjoyed it. I love eating spinach this way. Almost like it better than, cooking it where it cooks all of the water out of it. So I have enough ingredients to eat this for 2 meals this week, either 2 lunches, a lunch and a dinner, or 2 dinners. Alright, and now it's time to have some fun. I have been wanting this tamagoyaki pan for the longest time, and it was recently my birthday, and my kids got me this, along with this mini cast iron skillet that I've also been wanting. And I got a bonus with this a little tiny one. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but it looks like a single egg size serving, which would be perfect. So I'll figure out what to do with that. But now let's get started with this tamagoyaki pan, and it's meant to well, they use it for omelets, Japanese omelets, which is typically a little bit of a different style. I'm going to be using their technique, but I'll be using a Western, it's going to be more like a Western style omelet. But I'm just going to have some fun with it, and then I'm going to serve it alongside some potatoes. I'm going to make the potatoes a little bit different in this recipe, but to get started with, we're going to use, I'm just going to follow their technique and see how it turns out. So I'm going to use some oil and a paper towel. I just absolutely love the way these turned out. The eggs were so fluffy, and obviously using the pan, if had I used more eggs, it would have been easier to turn the layers, but I was trying to conserve the eggs for the week. So but you could use a silver bullet for jam, for ketchup, but I thought this turned out really good, and it was absolutely delicious. The eggs were light and fluffy, the potatoes were crispy and delicious, exactly the way that I like them. And I love the fact that you can do a lot of different applications with that pan. Now obviously if you don't have the pan, you can use a regular round pan, and you're just going to flip it the way that I did. It doesn't really matter. You're just not going to have that square shape to the egg, but it's still going to be fine. And I had some potatoes left over, which is perfect. I'm going to put those in the fridge for another breakfast. In one of my other budget videos recently, I made huevos rancheros, and I topped them with feta, and I just can't stop thinking about that meal. It was so good. And I was thinking, with these ingredients, I should be able to make something similar to that. I'm going to have to substitute the corn tortilla shells with the flour shells, and we'll just see how that turns out. But I have to cut this down a little bit because these are really quite large. So I'm just going to cut it down to the size of the pan that I want, and we'll see how this goes. This was absolutely delicious. On this one, making huevos rancheros with the flour tortilla, it was actually easier to cut into than the corn tortilla, but I think I actually like the flavor of the corn tortilla a little bit better than the flour tortilla on this particular meal. Now, I also really liked the addition of the feta in the last time I made huevos rancheros. Make sure that your eggs are nice and creamy for the dish. And I would say this doesn't feel like I'm eating on a $10 a week budget. This is really a delicious meal. And we have quite a few beans left over for a couple more recipes. Okay, next up, I'm going to make black bean flautas. Now, I haven't used black beans in this before, so I'm kind of excited to see what it's going to taste like. I do absolutely love the flavor of these seasoned beans, so I don't expect that I'm going to need to add anything to it. I'm just going to make it as small as possible, roll it up and deep fry it, and make it nice and crispy on the outside. Now, when I was finished with these, I actually thought they looked a little bit more like chimichangas than flautas. Maybe I should have cut the flour tortilla shell in half, but they actually were tasty. I really enjoyed them. If you want to serve them along with some La Victoria or salsa or sour cream, that would be good. I actually mostly ate them without anything, but I did have the La Victoria, and I did want to show you how nice it looks plated. Because for me, that obviously is very important. Okay, for today's breakfast, I'm going to make myself some avocado toast. I absolutely love this. I eat it quite a bit, actually. We have tons of potatoes that we could be cooking for breakfast, but I'm just not going to eat that big of a breakfast this morning. I'm going to eat this with a hard-boiled egg. Okay, I've got quite a bit of rice left. I'm going to go ahead and cook this now. I probably should have cooked the whole thing in the beginning and then just put half of it in the freezer, but I didn't, so now I'm going to just go ahead and use what I've got. Now, I have these Great Value in the cabinet because, like I said before, I do always eat those, but I didn't have a full container, and I already had the Mission flour tortillas in there that somebody had purchased, and it was a full container. So anyhow, but for this menu, I'm just going to go ahead and use the Great Value. I've got quite a few things left over. I also do have the potatoes And let's see what else wasn't shown. Oh, I have the can of tomatoes as well. I haven't used that yet. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a fajita salad. I have all of the ingredients. I like to make my own tortilla shells for the fajita salad. I'm not going to take the time in this video to show you how to make those. It's super easy. I have another video that will show you. I'll link it down below. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut up some of the ingredients that I've got left. I'm going to use the tomatoes, the black beans, spinach, and cilantro. And I'm just going to chop up a super rough chop on the spinach. And my tortilla shells turned out perfectly. I like to have them really crispy so that I'm able to eat it better. Now, I didn't have a lot of black beans left, so I'm going to add a half cup of the brown rice to the dish to make it a little bit heartier. And as you can see here, I use a bowl to form my shell, but as you can see here, I'm just going to go ahead and layer the ingredients one by one. And I'm going to count on the seasoning in those black beans to flavor the entire dish. I have to say, I really like the addition of the rice. Definitely going to be eating it that way from here on out. And the cilantro will add quite a bit of a flavor component to it as well. And then I'll just add the spinach and the avocados. Now, this is a meal that I like to eat regularly. It's just very healthy. It's just one of my favorite meals. And when I made this video, I just wanted to make sure that I was eating food that I was going to really enjoy. That were also as healthy as possible, because obviously you can't get a lot of groceries on $10. But I think this turned out pretty good. This was absolutely delicious. You just want to make sure when you're doing this that you get your tortilla shell nice and crispy. And then for breakfast the next morning, I decided I wanted to just have a poached egg on toast. So again, I'm not going to show you the poaching. I have another video for that also. I'll link that in the description. But I do have a foolproof method for poaching the perfect egg. I had quite a few potatoes left over. Like I said earlier, I could have had that along with this, but I was just having a light breakfast today. Okay, these are the items I have left over. I probably have enough for one more peanut butter sandwich. However, I've been eating quite a few for lunch, so probably not going to do that anymore this week. I've got plenty of rice, cilantro, lots of potatoes, the diced tomatoes. Now, somebody ate half of my onion. I found these on the counter. They're kind of old, which is probably why they stole my onion. But regardless, I don't think I'm going to need that onion for anything else. So I'm good. I've got the can of diced tomatoes. I'm still wondering whether I want to do some eggs in purgatory, or I'm thinking about making gnocchi with the tomatoes as well. I'm not sure yet. However, I do see with all this rice and the carrot, I can make some egg fried rice. That should be good. I probably may use this bread with maybe eating another egg in the morning. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do on that. And I have lots of spinach left over and the peanut butter. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make the egg fried rice, and I'm only going to use one egg, so that's going to leave me with one egg remaining, which if I did do the eggs in purgatory, it would be an egg in purgatory. So who knows? I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I'm going to use a vegetable bouillon, the garlic salt, and soy sauce, and of course the carrot. I'm just going to whip through this really quick because it is already a long video, and I'm going to just try to edit this so we get to the end result. Okay, I have to say this rice was really delicious, but fried rice is always very delicious. It's super easy to make, so if it's something that you haven't made yet, definitely I think you should give it a try because it's so good. And also, if you have some sesame oil, it's really super delicious to put that over the top at the very end. So for my first $10 video, I went with some of the comfort foods that I really like to eat on a weekly basis, and it just worked out well that they work together with the $10 because you really have to use your ingredients several times in the week for it to work out, and $10 is not very much money to be spending on food. So even though it seems like I did it and I didn't feel deprived at all, but I do realize there was a lot of planning involved, and a lot of people just don't have that time to plan, which is why it's, you know, so much easier to just spend more money to get more meals. But all in all, I thought I was happy with the week, and I didn't lack food. In fact, I had more food than I actually ended up making because I had extra potatoes and extra bread as well. But this salad even, that was super delicious. And you just want to make it to the acidity that you like. And I tend to like mine a little bit more acidic. But that was super delicious. Okay, I do have to admit there is one meal that I made that I wasn't that crazy about, and I saved that meal to the very end. And it was my eggs in purgatory. And I think the only reason I didn't like it is I was in a hurry and I was tired, and so I cranked up the heat, and my egg ended up being way too done. So I think if it was silky and I had served it in there, it would have been delicious. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and I'll see you in the next video.